Was that sick. He didn't want to share it, to discourage me or to, make me feel. So, but finally, when he came and we got back home, I could notice that there were some changes in him. He was now becoming slow in doing stuff and all of that. So I was like, what's going on with you? And he'll be like, he'll be fine, he'll be okay. So apparently that was like a bad moment for him. You know how it was like his crisis period then, you know. It comes and it goes, but for some reason, maybe God wanted me to see that part. So, well, days down the line, he will go upstairs. Upstairs is where we have like the lofts, you know, and where he plays his computer game and everything. Then the rooms are downstairs. So he'll be like, okay, just sleep in the master bedroom, just decompress, jet lag and all of that. Then he'll go upstairs there from playing his computer game, he'll sleep off. Then in the morning, I'll be like, So it went on for days. So my friend called me one time. I was like, she knows I'm honeymooning, enjoying and all of that. That's why she hasn't called me for almost a week and everything. And I'm like, I'm not honeymooning anything, You girls talk now because she's my very close friend. So I now told her, I said, the whole time I've been here, my husband has always gone upstairs to sleep. I don't know what's going on. He said he wants me to get over jet lag and all of that, you know. And she was like, no, that if he's sleeping upstairs, I should join him there and sleep there, you know. And, the whole time it didn't even occur to me. So I was like, okay. Even though it's not like a bed there, it's just like sofa, it's just like another mini parlor. So I just took my pillow that night and I went upstairs, to just join him. And that was like midnight kind of deal. And when I got upstairs, the scene I saw changed me forever, changed my life and everything. So when I got upstairs there, he was like on the floor, kind of convulsing, but not really like convulsing, like struggling with his life. He had like foam all over his mouth, stuff like that. You couldn't even see like his eyeball. You could only see like the white parts and all of that. So I was scared. I now started calling him. I said, what's going on? And all of that, I was panicking. Meanwhile, I was like maybe about 5 days in the US. Didn't know.
It was
I've
only
never been to
five
the US. Yes. I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to go about stuff, how to call emergency or anything, And as at that time, his relatives that were here, I didn't even have their number. Both from his mom's side, I told you his mom is from the US, so he had his aunts, which is his mom's sister. So as at that time, I didn't even have. I had spoken to them when I arrived, but through his own phone. Yeah, but I hadn't had, the opportunity to get their numbers. Then also his cousin, living in another state. I didn't have those numbers. So I didn't know what to do. It was just me and him in North Carolina. Me on my own part, I don't have no relatives. So who would I even call? So I was like, scared. Mixed feelings in short. I didn't understand what was going on because I was seeing him passing out. And I remembered, I've always been a prayerful person. So I came with my anointing oil from back home because that's what we believe in, So I just rushed downstairs. I don't know if I took like 2 steps downstairs. I flew down practically and went to my bag, got the anointing oil, went upstairs. I was rubbing it. I was praying all the psalms I knew, praying all the, prayers I could remember. And it took a while. At some point, I just took off my whole clothes. I was just stark naked. And I was calling on God because I know where I got married from. And I am me just being new in the US. What was going through my head at that time was they're gonna feel okay. I've gotten to the US and now I've killed their son. That was what was going through my mind. That's back home mentality and all of that. Because how do you explain that you just arrived and your husband died?
No.
You understand? Died, sorry. You know, or something like very bad happens to him. So a whole lot was going through my mind. So I was just naked before God. I said, God, please, this is just the way you created me. For my sake, please restore him. Anything that is going on, I just started praying. So it took a while, like hours, me going through that and him, gradually he now came back. Gradually like that. So, and that was the beginning of every other thing that happened. So apparently that happens every day to him. So he didn't want me to see that part. Yes. So what happens is he was he 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 was diabetic, okay? And at a certain time his blood sugar just drops for no reason. It doesn't matter whatever he does, whether it is, I don't know if it was medication or it's just his system or it's just how diabetes is. I don't know. Because my mom is diabetic because my mom is still alive. But my mom is a retired nurse, and the way she took care of herself, I didn't see diabetes as a something serious. I thought it was like, because of the way she handled it, I thought it was like, okay, you have malaria and you take or you have headache, for example, and you take paracetamol. So that was how I saw my mom take care of herself. It looked so easy to me. But me getting married and now finding out that, okay, this is what he's struggling with, it was on another level. Then he had complications from a surgery he did that didn't go well. So he was battling with that complication and he was also battling with, diabetes at the same time. So, no. Sorry. I think someone is trying to bring, that's my second line. My second
Okay.
Yeah, the next view is my second. You don't have to bring her up. Yeah. So, so I saw diabetes, like him struggling with it and the complications he had from the surgery and everything. But as at this time, when all of this was happening, I had no clue of, this sickness and everything. So I was like, okay, let's go to the hospital. He was like, no, he's going to be fine. You know how men are. So it got worse and worse and worse. So, but as time went by, he would be telling me, okay, if I see him reacting in a certain way, I should know his blood sugar has dropped. I should do this and I should do that. That it was just his blood sugar that dropped, and that was why. So from that point on, around midnight or so, the blood sugar drops, 2 a.m., something like that. The blood sugar drops. So what I now did was I will set my alarm. So once it's around that time, I wake up like 15, 30 minutes before the time. I keep on watching him. Once it starts, all of that movement, crisis era, convulsing kind of deal, I rush out, go get orange juice or whatever, and trust me, when I'll try to administer it to him, it's not easy. And knowing my husband was bigger than me, taller than me, and everything. So you can imagine, as big as he was, I had to pin him down, open his mouth, and he will be fighting me like he doesn't want to take it, you know. So sometimes I'll even like be on top of him as he's laying down. I'll just be on top of him just to open his mouth and put that thing so he can gulp it. And once I put it, I'll raise his head so that he doesn't choke. So this was my story every day. So I was doing this every day So, but once sugar gets into his system, it starts stepping up, his sugar level, then he comes back to reality. So this was going on. So at some point, it got so bad, and I think it was February because my first birthday here, I was in the hospital. So when I went to the hospital, finally went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, "Oh, who is this?" And he was like, "Oh, that's his wife." And the doctor was like, "Okay, I need to tell you what's going on. You need to take care of him, and he doesn't really have much time. In fact, as at that time, I wasn't understanding American English, because this North Carolina English was something else. It's not like it's not like New York English where we are speaking. They be speaking. You know they are talking. You know they are speaking English, but you cannot comprehend
Yeah.
because it's like whether they are singing or, in short, you can't even. It's terrible. So this doctor was communicating with me. I couldn't even hear like 5 or 10% of what he was saying, and I couldn't even say I don't understand you, but I was just like, okay, okay, okay. But I know in between what he was telling me was that he doesn't have much time. Try and do the best you can, take care of him. And I was like, okay. So after everything, I went to meet some other nurse that was working there. I saw before then, we had related before because I was already sleeping in the hospital those weeks. It was like 2 3 weeks or so. I was already sleeping there in the hospital with him. So nurses come and go, and all of that. So I met this particular nurse that's from, I think, Ghana or somewhere, some African country, but not Nigeria. So I was like, please break this thing down, because when the doctor was giving me a report of what was going on with my husband, he was also there because he was his staff. My husband was his patient, I mean, at that point. So I now went to him. I said, please break this thing down in a way I can understand. So he broke it down to me. And he was the second person that told me he doesn't have much time, you know. And as at that time, I'm the kind of person that don't tell me things in riddles, just say it out, like say it the way it is. So I don't start cracking my brain misunderstanding what you're saying. So I was like, when you said he doesn't have much time, what does it mean? Is he buying? And the nurse was like, yeah, you know. And this was like February. This was like practically 2 months of me being in the US, and I'm hearing that he's about buying. Oh my God, you can imagine how I felt. So, you know, I
Did you have time together, like after wedding back in Nigeria, like spending some time together, like
after
husband and wife,
no,
like before?
no,
So
no.
after the wedding, he came back to US, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So, I know what you're talking about, but yeah, no, I didn't have that opportunity. So, um, we now got discharged from the hospital, and I started taking care of him. But I think as at that time, what was going on has already eaten deep into him, So there was little or much I or anybody can do, because whenever we go back to for doctor's appointment, because what was happening then was like, once we come back home, stay like 3 5 days max, not even up to 1 week, he relapses. I don't know if it's the medication, I don't even know what, Then we'll have to go back to the hospital, stay like 1 month, 2 months, then we'll come back again. It was a cycle. It was a cycle. So I was like, okay, let's do it. But me, because of my faith and everything, I was like, oh no, what God cannot do does not exist. I was always prayerful. I started fasting. I did dry fasting 3 days. I wouldn't eat, drink water, nothing. I would do fruit fasting for 7 days where it's only fruits I'm eating. I would do all manner of fastings. Then I started, because I was in denial. I didn't want to believe what the doctors were telling me. So I was like, no, that is your own report. My own report is coming from heaven, and this is not what my God is saying about this situation. So I now started, embracing God in a different way, so that my husband can, live again. But over time, he was just deteriorating. Even though I was seeing him deteriorating, I was still so much in denial. So this went on, then he went into coma. Shortly after that, the first coma, he went into for 2 days. I didn't even understand it was coma because I'll come there, I went home, to freshen up and everything. Then by the time I came back, he was in coma, and they were like, he was sleeping, he would wake up, and I'm there. He's in ICU. He has moved from his room. He's now in ICU, and I'm like, he's not waking up. I've been here for hours and hours and hours, and he's not waking up. And then COVID had already hit. So it's like there were restrictions in the hospital. You can't do the normal stuff and everything. So even in the ICU, because I was his wife, yes, they would allow me come in, but I have to wear the PPE, yes. I couldn't even touch him now because I have to wear the gloves. Even if I touch him, I have to wear gloves, change all of that. So the fear of bringing in COVID, symptom getting him infected and all of that was there. So I would be with him there, but like I can't do anything. So they already knew me there. I was just like a prayer warrior, praying. One day turned into 2 days, and it was after 2 days he got out of that coma. But that 2 days coma was the shocker of my life. So, but afterwards, because by that time, I think in the hospital there, maybe they thought he was not going to make it, because palliative care and all of those people reaching out to me, doctors and everything, asking me, does he have life insurance? I should get in touch with funeral home. I'm like, funeral home? He's still breathing. Like, what are you guys talking about? And they now started discussing all of this whole thing, that I didn't want to hear, I didn't want to believe, but finally he came by 2 days later. But I knew that time was the time for us to have like I knew that was a time for us to have like deep and honest conversations about, every other thing. Because at this time, I was now getting aware of how the system works here and what to do, what not to do, and stuff like that. So when he came by after 2 days, we sat down and we spoke about so many things. But before then, he would always make comments in passing. If anything happens to me, don't take me back home. Bury me where my mother was buried. Stuff like that. So when we had those honest conversations about death, expectations, this and that, in case, because one Oyibo lady was like, see, you have to have those conversations. And I told her, no, it's forbidden by where I'm coming from. You can't be talking about buying when somebody is still alive, and she was like, I understand. I also, because the lady was like, the lady that spoke to me, she's Oyibo, but she's married to an African. I can't even remember which country. So she said she understands the culture, tradition, all of that. But these are important questions in case it comes out of this, So they gave me a lot of advice in the hospital, how to go about in case he buys and in case he doesn't buy. See, so I now started becoming aware of things. So that informed my conversation, all those honest conversations I had with him. and everything. So he was able to open up, and apologized for everything, because he saw it was already taking a toll on me. He could see I was already drained. I hadn't even enjoyed the marriage. I hadn't even enjoyed the US I'm hearing about, and I'm carrying all of this burden and everything. So he took me to the graveside where his mom was buried. We went there actually twice. I don't even know why I went there twice because, maybe he wanted me to really, really know that this is
Yeah, he
where.
wants that
So when
one.
we went the second time, I was like, oh, is this where you're talking about? And he nodded. And I'm like, wow. Because all of these things still new to me. You can't be back home and you're talking about buying and where you
Where
want to
you
be
go?
buried.
Yes.
You know,
Mm.
it's unheard of.
Mm-mm.
So but I now started embracing the culture. The culture, those are the culture shock I got. That people can even make arrangements of their burial, buy whatever, pay funeral home, and so that once they buy, it will be easy for their family. I'm like, okay. But anyway, that was when he now like gave me power of attorney
Mm.
to take decisions on his behalf in case anything happens. Gave me all the passwords I needed to know, all everything, puts me in his bank account, added me to the house, everything he needed to know, like prepared me. But me, I didn't even understand all of that as at that time. So until shortly after that, he went into a second coma.
Mhm.
And this was like about maybe 5.5 months.
Wow, that's a long time.
Oh my God. Then, if you look for me in this America, you won't find me. Because I was hoping, okay, after 2 days, just like the other one is going to wake up. One day turned to two, 2 days turned to 1 week,
Mm.
2 weeks, 1 month, 5 months. Hey, coach. Hey, I don't wish
Like
this for any of my enemies. I don't. You know. But prior to him even going through all of that, I saw my husband standing, he he became crippled,
mm.
you know. Before me, from being crippled, he was bedridden. So all of a sudden, now he can't, his leg is giving way, he stands up and he drops, and he
And this
can't
is a
get up.
span of within 2 years, right?
No, less than a
1 year.
year.
Oh my, yes, it started after 5. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I arrived here 2 days before Christmas, December 2019.
Ah, it was
And
COVID,
by
yes.
2020, so this was happening like 2020. So this was
Mm.
happening, all of this I'm talking about is happening in 2020.
Mm.
And there was COVID, everything, I was scared. Oh my God. But did I want to leave? Yes, I wanted to leave. I wanted to go back to Nigeria at some point. Why didn't I go? First of all, I was begging him, I was kneeling there. I said, please pay my ticket. I want to go. This is too much. I need to, I wasn't going to leave the marriage, but I just needed to like leave the whole situation and
Mhm.
decompress. You
Mm.
understand? And all of that, you know. But I could see how much he suffered. I could see how much he needed me at that time. At the end of the day, he is my husband, or he, you know. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, I'm going to take care of you. I'll be with you. It doesn't matter, you know. But even though it was too much for me, I was also hoping and believing that, he would recover. But he kept on going from bad to worse to worse to worse to worse. So, we kept living from hospital to one nursing home because here, when you recover to a certain level, they take you to a hospital or a nursing home, depending on how severe your
Yes.
situation is.
Mm.
So it was from hospital to nursing home. And when we come back, he relapses. Sometimes it's even from hospital to nursing home. Then he relapses there. then we'll go back to the hospital again, then we'll now come back to another nursing home that would accept him, then he relaxes again, we'll go back to the cycle was like that. So at some point, when COVID was too this thing, so they had him in the hospital for like a year plus. I was living in the hospital. Like if you come in, you see my bag packed. I'll just go back home maybe a week or after 1 week or 2 weeks, just to have a good shower,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, maybe eat good food because I was always eating all of this hospital. Then know that I didn't know how to pay no bills then. So bills started, later started coming
Really?
in. Yes,
Yeah, you
piling
have
up.
to be shown. You have to be shown how to pay
Yes,
bills over
I
here.
didn't know how to pay bills. And when
Yeah.
those letters come, because there was no opportunity for him to teach me nothing, show me nothing, because we're even struggling with his sickness and everything. So when the bills started coming, I didn't know what to do. As at this time, he was barely even speaking because he has been through so much. So at that point, I was already losing the house. We're already losing the house, because the payments was not being made, and this is mortgage. So I had no choice. I had to call my cousin in I have a cousin, she's in Texas. So I said, I don't understand this English this way I've been speaking in this letter, but it has to do with the mortgage of the house and all of that. So she
Mm.
just said, okay, just screenshot it. I screenshot it and sent it to her. She writes, I said, no, go to the bank. Oh, I think today is the last day. Oh, they are giving you. Piam, I rushed to the bank.
Mm.
And now I told them, I said, see what is going on with me. I don't know.
Mm.
So they said, bank, all they want to hear is, are you making payment or not?
Yes, the other stories they don't want to listen.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but before this time, I had already gone out to look for a job. So I was already, yeah, because there was no income
Mm.
whatsoever. So, but because I had some money, so I had to now start paying for the house. We had to do like auto pay, so it comes out from my paycheck every month, and all of that. So then I had to go look for a job at some point because he had already lost his job because of the sickness.
Mm.
And we needed to survive. It was hard, coach. But before even I got that job, I was borrowing money from my sister, who was already borrowing money from someone because
Somebody,
she didn't even have. She was a civil servant. So I'll be like, please, I need some money. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But whenever I start working, you're going to pay me back. I'm going to pay you back. And she was like, I don't really have, but she's going to go and borrow. So she'll borrow like 50,000, send to me, stuff like that. She kept on sending money. You can imagine my younger sister sending me money from Nigeria. She will go borrow and send to me just for us to survive here. So at some point I was like, no, immediately the COVID
so
shutdown was
even getting a job, it's a procedure also. You have to background check what.
right. I was also waiting for that, because
Mm.
I came in here. I was waiting for actually my social security to come.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, it delayed, so immediately the thing came. Coach, I went all out. I started looking for. I didn't even start. I went to the fast food that was even down the
Yeah.
road
Mm.
nearby. So I
Mm.
went there. I told them I'm looking for a job, whatever. So they gave me a cleaning job. So the job specification was for me to be wiping down tables. But then because of COVID, they were not. People were not coming into the restaurant. They were doing drive-through.
Mm.
But they also needed me to be cleaning the place. I'll clean it. So I was more focused on the toilets. So I was like that person. You know how maybe when you come to somewhere and you see somebody standing in the toilets, I was focused on the toilet. So people will go poop and come out and tell me to go and flush it. They will go mess it up with blood and stuff like that.
Mm.
I'm the one to clean it.
Mm.
So I was like kind of the cleaner in that fast food.
Mm.
So I didn't mind because I was already the fish I
You
was
wanted
frying in my
to.
own personal life was
Mm.
bigger than so
Than
that
this
was
one.
even yes, that was even
Very
so
tiny at that particular moment. This was nothing. Whatever you experienced was Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's
So I
quite
did
an
that then, but the money was not adding up because of the mortgage I was paying, this light bill, that, and also by this time I had already inherited like a backlog of, because we're not paying, we're not paying
Yes,
because of
and
this
once
ill
you are
health. It
put,
doesn't
your
even
name
work.
is put inside,
Right.
if it's the mortgage and the bank account, oh my goodness. Now you take over
Over
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So I had to start calling the light people, the water people. I started making payments arrangement because we were already overdue. But the reason they gave like concession as at that time was because there was COVID. So COVID brought about
Ah,
a lot of
yes.
yeah, they considered a lot of families there because so many people
Mm-hmm.
lost their jobs.
Mm.
So I was under that concession, but I was already making a payment plan. So the money I was earning then was $9 per hour. It was nothing. It wasn't adding up,
Yeah.
to pay anything. I
Mm.
wasn't even feeding at home. I was feeding at work. Then I had to go get a second job where I was a burger maker in another
Mm.
fast food that was like across, adjacent to where I was working presently. So I work the cleaner job for 8 hours, move over to that other one, work 6 hours, go to the hospital, sleep in the hospital, take care of my husband, you know. And my husband didn't want people like all the CNAs then to start touching him, doing stuff because I was there, which I understand. Because he was bedridden, you can imagine him, before he lost consciousness, at least he was conscious, but he couldn't like help himself. So he didn't want me sitting down there looking while CNAs are taking care of him. So
Mm.
if anything happens, I'll have to be the one. Even they already knew me. They
Mm.
already knew me. So once I go, okay, his wife is here, okay. And CNAs, they don't want to do nothing, especially when you're taking the job from them for free. So, I was also taking care of him in that manner. Then in the early in the morning, I have to leave the hospital 5 a.m., start my job. Oh my God, the cycle was like that.
Emmy is
So I
asking if
told
there was living benefits, if there was maybe insurance or something to help you out in the process. Emmy, at that particular time, even knowing those things, if people stay here
no.
even for 20 years and sometimes they don't know some stuff they're supposed to do.
No,
So,
we don't even, because I was new. I'm getting to know. Okay, like when he went into coma the first time when it was 2 days,
yes.
they were asking me about life insurance, if he had life insurance to bury him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So when he got out of coma and I asked him, I said,
You
see,
are
these are the questions because when they were asking me, I was putting it down, I was writing it
down
down.
here. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, they asked me, do you have life insurance in case if
Mm-hmm.
anything happens, how do I bury you? And he
Mm.
told me that he doesn't have. And I
Okay.
said, okay. So what happens if you buy? How do I go
Mm.
about it? And
Mm-hmm.
he gave me that empty look that I don't know how you're going to do it. Though. Like he didn't say it, but you could see it.
But
When
oh,
you're
you could see, yeah, you can see fish
right, you could
expression.
tell. So like I don't know how you're going to do it though, but that was when I knew I had to double up my speed. Like double up. I wasn't buying nothing, nothing, nothing. The only thing that left my paycheck was those money I was owing back home. I quickly paid it back,
Yeah, that
then
was
make
a
sure my mortgage and my bills were paid. Every other thing was going into saving, 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 saving. Because trust me,
because now if there's no insurance, there's hospital bills, and
right,
hospital bills,
everything.
it's
I
crazy.
was I also made payment plans towards that. You understand? Because at a point he had no insurance anymore because he wasn't working. His
Yes.
former place of work that he was working and he fell sick and they what they call that term when they let you go from work. I can't even remember, but they won't pay your insurance because you're no longer their staff. So
No,
insurance
no.
ends once you end. That's how it works here. Your insurance ends once you end. So even the hospital bill started piling up. So but I was told that he could file for, what was that, Medicare or something, but that thing took like whether 90 days, another 3 months and all of that,
Mm.
you
The
know
process.
Yes. So, but when that thing kicked up, it paid up a chunk of it, but there was still left. So I now had to now start making payment plan because here you can make payment. You can't pay all those things. How much am
You
I earning?
cannot. You
Yes, I
can't.
started making so the payment plan I was making was a whole lot. Like my money was like going into, trying to settle this bill, trying to settle that bill, trying to, you know. So, but the whole idea was like he was not going to make it beyond 2021, you know. But for some reason, God saw him through. He lived through 2021, but not, he didn't have a good quality of life. Because after the coma, he had stroke and all of that. So, but before even that, when he went into the coma for 5 months, so the doctors, they called me, they said, see, your husband will not have a good quality of life. The best thing is for you to take off the life support. And I'm like, so me, I want to understand what people are saying, like in a layman's understanding. So you want me to buy this man, take off this thing so that he will now go, so that his blood will be on my head. Me, I'm an African woman. I know how they think. Hey! But that if my husband's people now say that I did their turn, I have achieved
Even
what I want
women,
to achieve,
you,
coming to America, eh?
wait,
I say, hey. I say, no, it's
I
God that will
know
take his
because
time.
sometimes when even you are shown how to do morphine, you stay away. You say no.
Yeah.
Let the family do or something, depending on where you're working on. So for people here, they understand how they do things. But for us Africans,
Yeah.
that is a no area.
Oh, I was like, mm-mm, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. And I was like, and I was still in denial. So I was like, no, he's going to be fine. But because they've had experience of this thing over the years, this is my first experience, you understand? They know how it is. When somebody stays in a coma for a long time, it just takes the grace of God for that person to come back normal. No. And for somebody that has been through so much before even that second coma, it was, they knew that he wouldn't have a good quality of life. And just as so one of the times, before I even get to what I wanted to say, so one of the days, we were having this conversation. My husband was still there. We're in the ICU, and they were telling me, no, by tomorrow we want this to be taken off and all of that and all of that. And I said, no, I can't do this. And they were like it was like pressure to me to take him off life support, And I said, no, I can't. It is against my faith. I can't do this, you know. So they kept on telling me, no, he won't have a good, there's no point, he's suffering there and all of that. So I now looked at him and I held his hand and I could see him tear up,
Yeah.
even though he was.
Yeah, in that condition.
Give me a moment. Please. Give me a moment.
It's
It's
okay.
sometimes it's hard for me to, when I recall. Yeah, so I could see him tear up and that broke me. And I was like, Doctor, can't you see he's crying? He doesn't want to go now. He doesn't want, you guys want me to do this. He doesn't want to go. And, so they let me be. And I was even lucky because I came back from my 2 shifts. I was tired. And they were practically, sorry guys, sorry, please. Sometimes you want to be strong for yourself, but emotions will always creep in.
It's okay. Take
Please,
it.
I don't want no pity. Please, please, please. I don't want no pity. I need to be strong for myself. So please don't put in any comments in anything in the comment section. I don't want no pity. Please, please, please. It will make me, more depressed and all of that. So um I'm trying to put my thought together. Yes. So that day they were practically taking out some of the things because for some reason they said they thought I had consented to it. I said no, I didn't consent to anything. I said no, bring it back, put back everything because if he buys, I'm going to sue you all. With speed, they brought back everything. Put him back and all of that. But by then they were already seeing me as a mad person, which I was
Yes,
at the
already,
time.
because they don't
Yeah,
understand why you don't
yeah,
let it go. No,
right.
they don't understand. You
And I
know,
was
from your background, you know, but here
right,
it's totally different. It's not a big deal, you know,
right.
but to you it is. It is. It really is.
Yeah. So, you know, and I became a prayer warrior. Like I will come in, I'll be kabashing, and they knew me. Even they told me that see, they've never seen any family member that visits or sleeps. I was the only one that was sleeping in the hospital. Though. People just come and visit. Some people don't even, when they
And
have
go.
even they don't even come because they feel like, oh, the nurses are there, doctors are there to take care. They just call on the phone. If there's any decision you need to make, you just make on the phone. Okay, I give my consent, do this. But I was always there, present,
Mm.
everything. In fact, there was a time I was like there and I told them, please, because I was even the one baiting him, like, doing wiping because I felt they weren't doing a good job, cleaning his room by myself, everything. I'll just ask for all of those stuff,
Wow.
And there was one time I requested that they should give me clipper to, clip his nails and to barb his head, and they were looking at me like,
What is
and so
happening
one of
to
the
this
nurses was
lady?
like, I need to cut his hair and everything. I said, yes, I need to cut and shave him. I need him to look good.
Mm.
And they were
Mm.
looking at me like, is this woman okay? Maybe I was not okay, but that was, my reality. That was,
Mm.
so, but
You
afterwards,
still had hope. You still had
yeah,
hope.
I
So
had
you
hope.
could
But
do
even though I could
anything.
see that everything they told me is coming, like I could see that not having a good quality of life and stuff like that. So fast forward to when I realized he came out of coma. So that day I was praying in the room, and because of the way I was praying was I was moving around and all of that praying. So while I
Mm.
was praying, I heard someone say Amen. Because you know how when you pray, you say in Jesus' name. So the next
Yes.
thing I heard like, and it was just me and him. So I turned, I looked at
Look
him,
for, yeah.
but I couldn't like, you know. So, but this time around, I was now praying, I was now looking because I was sure of what I heard, you know. So,
Mm.
but I now look back again. I was now looking at him as I was now praying, and I see him open his mouth, and he said, Amen. When I said in Jesus' name, hey, coach, I was mad. I was like, hey, he has woken up. He has woken
Yes.
up. I was calling
Mm.
everybody. I was ringing
Mm.
the bell. I was
Mm.
running out of the hallway like a mad woman, telling them everybody was just looking at me as in. So when they now finally came, the man was still unresponsive. They're just like, lying down there. I said he said amen. He said it twice. The first time
Mm.
I didn't know, but the second I was already,
Yeah.
mentally
Mm.
all of that. But I was excited,
Mm.
and all of that. So but
Mm.
later that day, he could like because he had a trek
Yes.
also here, so it was also difficult for him to, but he was able to like utter a little bit. But when they have that track there, it's like it echoes when they speak. So after a while, I told them, see, I need them to remove that since he can now talk, so that I can now understand. But they were like, no, they can't remove it. Da, da, da. But at the end of the day, after a while it was removed, so he could now they brought speech therapy. Even though he was back, he was there but he was not there. So I didn't understand that the whole effect of that coma made him like brain dead. So the
It
way
was
they
like part
explained,
of him is dead and part there's a little life, but there's no
yeah,
life. Mm.
so the way they explained it to me is that his memory has gone back to his childhood.
Mm.
So they were now asking me, do I know any of his childhood? How would I even know? When
You
I
can.
married now, when did I marry? Come on, if his mother was there or his dad was there, yes, maybe, they would have said one or two things that he would have related to at that time. But I didn't know what to tell him about his childhood that. So that was the story of my life. That was a journey again I had to enter. So because every time I come around him or come back from work, I'm always introducing myself. I'll be like, I'll call him because we call ourselves Bunchy Bunchy, you know. And for some reason, he stuck to that Bunchy Bunchy. So once I come in and I say Bunchy Bunchy, and he'll be like, so it makes me understand that he knows I'm there. But the next question I'll ask is, do you know who I am? And he'll just be looking at me, and I'll keep on introducing myself. Saying, I am your wife.
Mm.
I am your wife. But as at that time, he would just say little stuff. He wouldn't really say so much. If you like when you say, what's your name? He understands that question, but the only thing he will say is his last name, but not his first name. So you now start telling him, okay, your first name is. So I thought we were going to grow from there. It was going to be better, but no, it went from there down, down, down to the point where he couldn't speak. So, but this whole time he never recognized me. He never knew I was married. So I would always say then I'm married to someone that doesn't know that I was married to him. So I would always show him my other phone. I'll show pictures. I'll say, oh, this is our wedding. And he'll be looking at me like, what are you talking about?
You could tell by
I
the
said,
look.
yes, I said, this is our court marriage. This is the traditional stuff. And this is the white wedding. I'll just be scrolling, showing him, Then the music, some things that also I was doing then was like the music, because we prayed in the morning, and before we prayed, there's this music that he likes that will always, so every day I go there, I'm sleeping there, I'm making sure that's gospel music, those gospel music, they are all so sometimes you could see it's playing on my phone. Sometimes you could see him like humming, and I'm like, okay. But to me, I felt all those things he was going to come by, gradually, but I didn't know that. Sometimes I wish like, oh, how I wish I can hear your voice again. Like the normal voice I used to know and stuff like that. So, but it went, that way until, I was already told he would deteriorate. But as at this time, maybe I was already accepting the situation that, okay, he won't be able to make it. So, I just decided to be there, so that he will have at least a good quality of life, because of him, I went to become a CNA so that I can understand and know how to take care of people like that, and going that route, then, I understand how the games they play in taking care of people. And that was why I dedicated myself solely to doing what I did for him, like taking his baths, making sure he looks good, all those activities of daily living. I made sure I cleaned his room myself, changing myself, so that I didn't want to, perceive all of those, odor and everything. I think maybe that was why, his life was prolonged with 2021, that everybody thought he was going to pass. He stayed till 2025 when he passed. So by this time I had already started making financial arrangements, saving, because I knew that if anything happens, I'm going to pay out of pocket, and that was what I did. So I was meant to go to Nigeria. I want to, because I don't know how long we have on this life. I was meant to go to Nigeria at some point. So I came to him. I knew he was really, I knew he was not feeling too good, but I didn't know it was that bad. So when I came to him, I said, because normally when I'm doing anything, I want to do anything for him, I come to tell him. Because they said the last sense that leaves a person's body is the hearing, the sense of hearing. So I know he hears me, but I don't know how he processes it. I don't know if he understands or not. So I'll always come and tell him, okay, see, this is what I'm doing, and all of that. So I now came and told her, say, I need to go to Nigeria. I need you to hang in for me. I'm going to stay 2 weeks and I'll come back. So then he wasn't looking too good. So I called the doctor. I said, I had to even rush him to the hospital, but because at that time he was already in the nursing home, so I rushed him to the hospital. So I told the doctor, I said, "See, I have a trip coming on. What do you advise? Should I cancel it or should I go?" So the doctor now said, "See, your husband already has 1,000,001 lives because for him to still be alive up till now, just go. Just keep in touch. I'm going to be updating you." So there's this Nigerian lady that normally helps me, when I'm not there, she's my eyes and ears everywhere. So I now told the lady, I said, "Please oversee this situation." So we'll do video calls, stuff like that. My whole trip to Nigeria that time, oh my God, it was terrible. Anxiety and everything. So when I got back home, I just called my mom. My mom is a nurse, so I just called. I said, "Mommy, this time around, I know I've gave you people scare, updating you people about the situation. Oh, it's not going to make it. He has made it. But you see, this time, I don't think so. She's going to make it." And she was like, "Am I sure?" I said, "From what I saw, you know." So my mother was like, the first thing she said is, "Jidesho Bigike." Jidesho Bigike means like, put yourself together, like your heart. Put your heart together. You understand? You fought a brave battle, if it's the will of God, So that was when I was in Nigeria. And I was communicating with them and everything, seeing how everything was going. So I came back on the 1st of March, went straight there, to see him and all of that. I just knew it was time. But this thing you can't really tell because I've been through it with him where you think it's time but this time something in me, I just knew.
Are you sure you came back with?
So on the 3rd of March, 2 days after I came back from Nigeria, was the day he passed. And the day he passed, I came in, no, I came in on the 1st and the 2nd. I also was there. So I was there till like midnight because that was the day I thought, because immediately I came into that room. I'm familiar with that room because he's been there for like, in that facility, he's been in that facility for like 2 years or 3 years, 2.5 years, going to 3 years. They know me, I know them, I know that room. Immediately I came in, the atmosphere was different.
It was not like the way you used
I don't
to.
know how to, I don't have the words to explain it. But I knew in my spirit it was time. So I now came to him and I prayed for him, blessed him, rededicated his life to Christ. And I told him he can go. He should stop fighting. I told him that.
Do you think the
Give me a
trip
moment.
to go to Nigeria helped somehow?
No, I didn't go to Nigeria for him. I went because of my dad. So because my dad was also battling, he had a surgery, a spine surgery. So, I'm the first daughter, so I just needed to go see him because at some point we were scared he wasn't going to make it. So.
So you had two people in your mind at the same time.
Right.
Was.
So, I was praising him, thanking him, for bringing me here, thanking him most especially for making me a strong woman that I am, for giving me time to be able to handle this thing. Because if he had died in 2021, I wouldn't have known what to do. But I felt he hung in there for me, for me to be able to gather strength, my finances, my thought, everything, to be able to take care of what was going to happen and everything. So I just blessed him, praised him, thanked him, appreciated him, and I said my last bye bye to him. And I told him, "See, don't worry. I can handle this now. And one of the things I told him was, please, when you go, don't scare me. I'm by myself in this house. You know how people, you might see I said, please don't even scare me. Don't come and show me yourself in my dream. Don't come and show me you one thing flying around and I'm thinking, okay, it's you. Please. I've been through a whole lot. Please don't. So I said some other things I can't reveal. It's just between the two of us. And because that facility I wasn't allowed to sleep over, so once I go I just leave. So I left there around, I think 11 and it's like an hour and a half drive back from my house.
From the house. Okay.
Yeah, so once it was time for them to shut down, they came and told me, oh, my, it's time and everything. So I now said my bye byes. I played his music, you know. And when I came back home here, I had an awkward feeling. I was sweating on my head, my hands were very cold, my legs were very cold. So in the middle of everything, normally once I come in, I'll just go take a shower. I didn't even know. I didn't take no shower. I just lay down and I slept off. After all those feelings, the next thing, the call came. So immediately that call came and I saw the phone and I said, okay. Immediately I saw the phone, I said, okay, he has passed. And they kept on saying, "No, be strong. Are you alone?" Da, 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 and everything. And then also broke the news to me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, but to me, when he passed was when I came back home. Then when I had all those signs, that's to me. That's what I want to believe. But when they called me was when maybe they saw him when they were doing their rounds. Maybe that was when they saw him. So well, at that time, I already knew what to do. I knew I had to call funeral home because here they don't give you, like back home where somebody passes, they call, oh, family member come and carry the dead body.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's different. This is your
But here,
burden now.
I just went on Google because this were things they were telling me to do over time. Oh, go and make
Yes.
arrangements, do payments plan, blah blah blah. So I just went on Google. I googled funeral home around me with 5-star rating. So this one just popped up. I just read through the ratings, but that was after I had cried. I had cried, and I said in my mind, I said, "Hey, so finally you have made me a widow." Ew. After all of this journey, 6 years, this is like 10 years of my life knowing you. And now this is, I wailed. Then after that, I put myself together because they kept on calling me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" After they broke the news to me, "Are you coming or are you sending people?" And I said, "Guys, give me time. I just lost my husband. Give me time." You know. And mine came with aggression and anger as well because of everything I went through, and it now ended this way. So then I had to call the funeral home. I said, "See, my husband is in so and so place. He just passed. Go pick him up and bring him because that funeral home is just close to me. And bring him there and everything."
So you called, you made payments, or you made a check later? Like when
Yeah,
you
you
called.
pay cash for that funeral home. You don't pay through credit card or
Check.
anything. You pay cash. So later on that day, I had an appointment with the funeral director. So I now went in. They'll now show you, when do you want this thing to happen? When do you want the funeral? How do you want? It depends on what you say. They will give you a package and you choose what you want. Then you now pay. You could pay installmentally. I think it was 2 or 3 installmental payments, but you pay before that funeral. So, but because I had already saved towards it, I
Yes,
just paid,
everything
everything.
you said.
Yes,
Yeah.
then I went on to call the cemetery because where he needed to be buried was like 2 hours away or 2.5 hours away. where his mom was buried. So I called them, made an appointment, went in there. So I had to buy a parcel of land where he was buried and all of that. So, but by that time, I had known, what I want, like how to go about
Yes.
stuff. So I now had to do all of that. Yeah. And this was like last year. So this year, March 10th this year made it 1 year I lost him. And that ended the mourning period for me because I had to go back home to do the 1 year memorial stuff so I can move on.
Oh, that's why you went recently home. That
Yes,
was
I
the
went
reason.
recently, yes, to do that. I did the 1 year memorial so I can move on and have closure and start rebuilding my life again. So that's the story of my life.
This is so big. It's even comprehending. It's difficult. Thank you for sharing your story so that people can know. Like, you might have challenges in life, but when you look at this challenge, guys, how do you see you as? How do you see you as? This is big. This is big.
So this is me cutting everything. I was telling someone, I said, you see, whatever I've shared on social media about my journey is just like 5 or 10%. There are
Exactly.
some things I have not talked about. There are some things I won't even talk about. There are some things that will go to my grave. You understand? My journey, in this marriage to America, whatever, you understand. So this is just like
Very tiny.
if you hear the cocoa, you people will be crying, but I don't want to bring all of that out. Even the little I'm even talking about gets me emotional because when I remember the scenes and there are other deeper stuff, trust me, I'm not sharing. I may not share. That's why my book is taking time. Because sometimes I'm like, do I want to put this out there? Do I not want to put this out there? So I'm putting it into, but that book is going to be a blockbuster because whatever you're hearing now,
I started writing the book. You can hear. You'll have a lot by the time you squeeze it down. But God, with God's mercy, you're going to do it, and it's going to help so many people who read the book. It's going to be something for healing. Yeah. Wow. Wow. All right. What are the big challenges? I'm trying to think 1 year and you're strong like this. Ah.
Yeah, somebody asked me that. No, somebody DM'd me. One lady DM'd me. I was like, after hearing my story, she was like, "How was I able to navigate life, deal with all of this, then come up with Zita's Tribe initiative even after 1 year of losing my husband?" I'm not good at texting. I'd rather call you and say what I have to say, but because I don't have a number, I didn't want to. This is just somebody that came to I don't have that close relationship with her. So the only thing I typed was, "It's well. God gave me strength. But to answer that question, I always say I was, because of my situation, my peculiar situation, I was a widow before I became a widow, if that makes sense. So it's like the situation even came to me before it occurred.
It occurred, yeah.
Yes. So, because how can you explain someone that's married to you that doesn't even know that he's married to you? You keep on introducing yourself as his wife. You're just like in the marriage by yourself. It's just the certificate showing that, okay, this is my husband. But for 5, 6 years, he doesn't know you, he doesn't recognize you and stuff like that. Even though when you come in, there's a way he reacts to me, it's an affirmation that he knows somebody close to him is there, but yeah, but I had already started picking up the piece of my life. My last topic in my program last week was wake up. So I woke up two times. I had to wake up to this realization, as at that time, to put myself in order, to start planning ahead. You understand? Even though I was in denial for years. But when I now woke up to the realization because of what I was seeing, it wasn't about what they were telling me in the hospital. It was about me seeing it koro koro. I had to wake up for myself. I knew that, oh, you have to do something, change your mindset, your situation, your sense of direction. You have to, you know, rise up. So I don't know where I got strength. God just gave me strength.
Because by the time
I
you
was
tell him
able
it's
to
okay.
stabilize, because okay, there's something I didn't share. So when I was working in that fast food where I was a cleaner washing toilets, I spoke to my manager. I said, see, because I was fascinated at the way they were cooking and doing stuff in the kitchen when I passed to go and drop my mop and everything. So I now spoke to the manager and I said, please, I want to learn how to do biscuits, you know. So that biscuit is like, it's not like the biscuit we know, it's just like maybe bread kind of thing. There's a way it is. So they roll it out and stuff like that. So they said, okay, if you want to learn and all of that. By that time, they had hired another older woman. So the older woman replaced me as a cleaner. Then I came into the kitchen as a cook. So I started learning how to do the biscuits. From doing the biscuit, I started learning how to cook all those things on the grill. So I now became a cook, in the fast food. So while I was doing all of that, there was an opportunity to become a manager. So one of the managers now came and approached me, and she was like, she called me and now said, I don't see you in this position. I see you higher. The way I look at you, you know, there's something about you. Go and apply for this position. I'm like, manager. And in that restaurant, they have swing one, swing two, swing three. That's the basic manager level. Once you have to apply as a swing one, that's the lowest. Then when you do well, you get promoted to swing two, swing three, like that. Or them depending on the number of years. But it wasn't swing one, swing two, swing three. It was like the main managerial position where you are paid salary and commission. So you're heading those swing one, swing two, swing three, and also in fact, you're running the restaurant yourself. That's what it means. So I applied, and I got the job. I went for the interview and they gave it to me, and everybody was like shocked. Like even those people, those the girls that would go use the toilet and ask me to go flush or do all of those, they are
They want
menstrual.
to make your life miserable. They will go.
They left the restaurant because they felt I was going to revenge. But trust me, as at
You
that
were
time, what I was going through, that was the
this thing you could
the
do.
least thing on my mind. So I became a manager. From there, they saw how good I was. They kept on moving me higher to the point where I was now the second in command in one of the biggest restaurants in North Carolina. You understand? So by that time, because this was me because I knew my situation and all of that. But this is me that I'm a graduate in Nigeria. I have my BSc. I studied economics. But I'm coming back here to do cleaner job, cleaning toilets. From there, I rose to become a cook. From there to becoming a manager. Then started studying, taking courses here and there to where I am right now. So, but all of this, I had to do it before even his passing. So I had gotten stabilized, even mentally, to a certain degree, not so much. Even now, I'm still struggling, trust me, because one of the things I got out of my program is I didn't even know this until people started saying it, and I started doing my research. Is that for those of us going through this, you can never heal completely. It can never heal. It's always gonna be there, you know. So I'm still healing, but I'm not like in the lower level. You understand? I've
Yeah.
risen above that. That's how I can make you guys understand. So that's why I'm able to, like, after 1 year. So it's not like, oh, we're living together in the house and he just passed, maybe it would have been even been hard for me. But because he left the house, you understand, he left the house in 2020 and never came back until he passed in 2025. So you can imagine how long I've been living by myself all this
At
year.
that period, yeah.
Yeah. So even when he passed and people were like, how are you in the house by yourself? Duh.
I've been
He
in
has
the house
already
for
left like
that.
5 years ago. You understand? So him passing
Yes.
now is not like, why would I run away from my house? You understand? So that's why you can see me do this when I say, oh, I lost him last year, you know. But it's still a struggle because I hear people on my platform saying, I lost my husband like 11 years ago. And they tell the story and they are emotional, they are crying. It is
Yeah,
deep.
I'm asking because even my mom, you don't completely heal, you live with things, you have to live with things. But it
Right,
took almost 15 years. It took time. It,
right.
it took time.
Yeah.
It really took.
But I have to be strong for myself. I have to be strong for my daughter.
You have to be, and congratulations, you are a strong woman, and you are influencing us to be as strong as you. So, uh, God has a purpose for you. So that's why, yeah, you have to be strong so that you help other people to also be strong. Thank you for taking us through because I could not understand. Thank you for taking us through up to that point because even if there was pain, there was little bit of happiness on the other side because your life turned around. There's crying, there's also happiness, there's combination. I don't know how to put it, but there's combination. You are being uplifted at the same time you are being
Right.
pressed down. Yes. So that's
Yeah.
so I don't know. We don't have time, but we'll do what we can do. What are the biggest challenges widows and single parents face? Because I also want to understand your pregnancy and you gave birth. It's a lot. I don't know when you're going to talk about this, but what is the biggest challenge as a widow? What was the biggest challenge for you? And also being a single parent at the same time.
The biggest challenge as a widow. Hey, loneliness, silent loneliness. You know, it took me time before I could start sharing my story.
Mm.
You know, it's not easy.
It's not easy because people have shared stories with me, painful stories, but they don't want the stories to come out. So I know how difficult it is to share. But with God mercy, you're able to share. And that is
Yeah,
where healing comes from. When you share.
yeah.
So it's not
When
easy, but you're healing somebody over here. You're healing so many people over here.
the fact that you have to do stuff yourself, you know, even then when I was in Nigeria and I even have to take any decision, I will always call him because we're always on the phone, doing video call or like in fact, any step I want to take, he knows it's always, but now you have to it was really hard when he was there and I had to take all of these decisions about, and I'm like, am I even taking the right decisions in the hospital and all of that? So, that
Decision
decision
making.
fatigue, decision making, you don't know if you're right or wrong, it's a whole lot, grieving as a parent, you want to be strong for your child. I have a daughter, I always say I wake up every day because of her. Even those are days I don't feel like going to work, I don't feel like doing anything, but just the thought of, okay, she has only me. I have to buckle up. Oh, there's so many things I started doing for myself just because of her, because I'm like in my head, okay, if anything happens to me now, how do you explain it to her? You know. So I have to take care of myself just, because of her. And also the financial pressure about, paying this bill, that bill, meeting up in this and all of that, taking decisions, especially when it has to do with your child, you take all the decisions. This is not that was not the idea, the concept, that was not the plan. I had in my mind leaving Nigeria to come here. I felt I was going to, do stuff,
Enjoy, yeah.
And the challenges are many. The emotional on it's a lot. It's a lot.
Loneliness, decision
Loneliness.
making.
Yeah. Decision
Lot.
making, emotional burnout, you're
Mm.
exhausted, it's a lot of stuff you have to deal with, when you're in this situation, it's just hell, sometimes you feel like you're losing your identity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because of everything you've been through, you know, you're giving care, you're now a caregiver, you overlook your own self, take care of yourself, And one of the things is that because I'm in North Carolina by myself, I have relatives also, but in other states. And you know how America is. Only Texas alone is like the whole of Nigeria. you know. So going from here is like traveling to another country. It's not easy. Although they came during the funeral, but at the end of the day, you're by yourself,
You're by
navigating
yourself.
life. There are so many times, I can't start telling you times when I sleep crying and I wake up crying. There was one time I was even sleep. I was dreaming. I was crying. I slept crying. In my dream, I was crying. I woke up crying. You know, it's very hard. Then you now talk about the what would I call the social judgments. The way we're being perceived. Single parents, widows. You know, some insensitive comments. I've had quite a few on this platform. When a topic was raised about marriage and someone said those that are not even in a relationship should not come and start be giving, opinion because
Yeah, I
you're
remember
not
there's a time you
experiencing it.
never wanted
Right. I
to
was
talk
mad.
about.
I was, especially when you come directly at me like that, it triggers something in me, that madness, and this situation makes you won't recognize yourself, trust me. I used to see people back home when they lose their husband, it's like they are going mentally gaga. You understand? Little things get to you. It's happening to me. Like, if you come directly at me, I would charge. I wasn't like that before. So, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it, Yeah. Parenting alone is not also easy. It's not. It's not. It takes a toll on you. You wish, oh, how your partner, I wish your partner was here to help you out, navigate, take the decision, do this. You're also scared about the future. What does the future hold? You know, stuff like that. So, but, you keep pushing. You keep pushing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You have shared a lot about what I wanted to ask. I don't want you to repeat yourself, but what emotional support do widows and single parents need most? For you, what do you feel you needed most, like when it comes to support from emotional to wherever, even to financial? What do you think a widow or a single mother needs that support?
I would say. to be heard and not to be judged. You know, people don't listen patiently. It's only maybe on a platform like this where you can mute and unmute and people are in the comment section. But in real life, even when you're talking, you're telling your story or speaking about your situation, it's like it has happened. I better get over it. You think it's easy to get over it? People are struggling. Even if you're a widow, even if you're a single parent, you understand. There's that void. There is that void, and some people deal with this in a different way. My own process might be faster than another person's, but it takes time to handle your own peculiar situation. Your own experience. Everybody's story is different. My journey is different from another person's journey. Yeah. So like the emotional support I need also is you don't because when for those of us that are widows and your spouse pass, I'm also speaking for widowers too. People come around you at the moment where you had that crisis, but once the person is buried, everybody disappears.
Yeah, that's what
Nobody
happened.
checks on you. But checking up on that person, it doesn't mean providing financial assistance or anything. Just how are you doing? How are you coping? How are you navigating? How was work today? Just those basic questions make you reassured that somebody has you, somebody still cares. But when you don't get that, it's like you're existing just by yourself.
Alone.
Yeah. So another emotional support I'll say is like self-care. Taking time to take care of yourself. That is the number one thing actually, because when situations like this happen, people just relax and not relax, but like
You lose yourself.
you lose yourself, right?
Relax.
You don't take care of yourself no more. The world, oh my God, you now start asking questions. Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody's looking at. Self-care does not mean that you have to go and make up and do it. There are basic things you can do and you just take care of yourself. Even eating right, balanced meal, taking a walk, exercising, all of those little things, it will help you. It will really, really help you. Feeling loved and valued, surrounding yourself with people, good people. They may not understand your journey, but they can relate, they can feel your pain, It could be family, church, good community, good groups, good people that, you surround yourself, they help you, lift you, give you some sort of hope. It makes the journey a little bit easy for you, There's genuine people, genuine community, genuine family, genuine friends. You surround yourself, they really, really help you, Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's very important. People may not understand you, they're not wearing your shoes. But when you surround yourself with good people, you feel uplifted. You feel like moving on. Yeah, they push you to the next level. So make sure, guys, you surround yourself with the right people, because if you don't, then self-care, very important, because now if you lose yourself, you don't care about yourself anymore, you become careless, and it can become messy. It can really
Right.
become, yeah. Wow. My next question for you: how do you rebuild? I know this is the topic you were talking last time about rebuilding yourself, and it really touched me. How do you rebuild? How do you begin rebuilding your life after a loss, or maybe with separation?
Rebuilding your life has to start with your own mindset, accepting your situation. Because you cannot rebuild if you don't accept where you are. You understand? You don't understand the process of this thing, then that way you can now start thinking about, the future. I'm moving on, I'm moving forward. So it starts with you. It starts with you and how, you acknowledge your present situation, accepting that, okay, this is where I am. Okay. This is not the end. That your story has changed because you are a widow does not mean that your life has changed. You still have purpose. Yes, maybe your dream may have been cut short, because you had plans with your partner, but he's no more. Does not mean you cannot rise and also pursue those dreams. But you have to tell yourself the truth. Okay, I have to do this. Just like the story I told you guys, I was faced with a lot of challenges and financial obligations. I had to grow from cleaner, get another job, then become a manager. Then started pursuing education here because here you have to really go to school to get to where you are. I had to get several certificates to get to the point where I am now, where I'm working now, where I'm a little bit balanced and all of that. So you have to accept your situation first.
The good thing with America, you can get education easily. Their form of education, it depends also on what you are doing, yes, but you can upgrade very easily if you put your mind
right, if you put your mind to it. Yeah, that's true.
Guys, if you have any question, I hope you have written down, and I don't know if I can finish the questions over here, but I want to open the panel because we have only 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes. Oh my goodness. Oh.
I don't want to be like the one asking all the questions. I have plenty. I'm not yet finished, but I want to open. If you have any question for Zita Mama, please, yeah, feel free to ask. If you're up here, if you're down here, let us know so that we can bring you up. We can bring you up. Thank you so much, Zita Mama, for sharing what you're sharing. You always know I record this and I post it somewhere else in YT so that people can be encouraged and people can get healing. So guys, if you want to hear this again and again, feel free to reach out. I'll give you the link later when I'm through. So guys, if you have any question, you can ask right now.
I think your farms wants to say something. She indicated in the comment section.
Okay. You can open your mic.
Hello, everyone. Coach, I've been indicating I want to say something.
Sorry.
First of all, Zita's Mama, I want to commend you for your strength.
Thank you.
For your strength. You're such a strong woman. I have to be honest with you. Honestly. Then I don't have a question. What I wanted to correct is, a widow is not a single mother. She cannot be addressed as a single mother. She is a widow. A single mom is somebody who is separated or who got pregnant outside wedlock. Somebody who her husband passed cannot be addressed as a single mother. Please, Rose of Paris, unmute and speak.
Okay, misconception,
Yeah, it's misconception, yes. It's
Okay.
Yeah,
First of
well,
all, I am a widow. You understand? Yes.
yeah.
First of all, I am a widow. I'm also a single parent.
Voila.
You understand? Yes.
Did you hear that, Fams? Because it's clear. She has already said it. Thank you so much, Coach.
so
Coach.
Pari. Wait
I
a minute.
disagree
Wait
with
a
it as
minute.
no.
I'm coming.
You are a widow, you're not a
I just
single
wanna-
mother, no.
I just want to thank Coach.
Somebody, okay, let's say for example
That's
now,
Mama.
maybe
Honestly.
I'm meeting you for the first time.
Yeah.
Then Rose, wait. Maybe I met you for the first time. And I'm like, oh, maybe I spoke to somebody and the person was like, no, she's not a single mom. Her husband just passed. She's a widow. A single mother is somebody who is separated or got pregnant out of wedlock. You can't address a widow as a single parent. No.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
By
disagree.
definition,
Why?
I understand what
Why
Fam
not?
is saying.
Me too.
By definition of single parent, that's what she's saying. I understand what she's saying. You understand? But my own context is because that situation brought me to that one. Like the passing of my husband brought me into being, like into taking care of my daughter by myself.
Voila.
So that is, you know.
Yes, farms. A widow can absolutely be addressed as a single mom. That for sure. Especially, I even wrote it when we were just talking on the chat. Especially when a child is involved or children are involved. She's not a man, she's a woman. She's gonna raise these kids alone. Especially if she does not remarry. So how do you address her? If she does not want to carry that name widow wherever she finds herself, maybe in a gathering, and she decides to address herself as a single mom, but she's right. She can absolutely be addressed as one.
Okay. So
Disagree.
it's okay. I
I searched it
understand.
up. Let me just put a Google definition to everything.
Hey, my last one is here. I told you.
Read it
people.
fire over here. There's fire.
Correct. But the thing
is
is,
so
being
simple.
a single mom, situations lead to being a single parent.
Right.
One of the situations leading to being a single parent include if you're a widow or widower and their kids
Lots of
involved.
stuff, yeah.
That's what the definition says. You can put it also on our own.
Give me my line right now, fam.
Another situation that leads to being a single parent involves having a child when you're not married. Another one is being divorced. So all these categories lead to being a single parent.
Single mother.
Yeah.
Because in the context
That's
of
what
it, you are raising this child by yourself. You're single parenting.
Yes, I searched it
situation
up.
has
That's
now moved
definition from dictionary.
Guys. Yeah.
Wow,
into
correct.
parenting by yourself.
Guys, you're all correct.
You are all correct.
What farms
No,
wanted to
you
put
guys don't
across?
mix it up. That's not true.
Hey.
We are not all correct. We disagreed to
are.
agree.
No,
We
you're all
disagreed
correct.
to agree.
Disagree, oh.
Farms
You
wanted
are
to put
correct.
across
You are
that
correct.
the first thing that came about was widowhood before
Yeah.
single. Yeah. So if she was not a widow, she could not be a single parent. That is what Farms was putting
But
across.
when I said so, she disagreed. She told me, several times here that I disagree with you. I disagree with you. That was what she told me.
It is when it comes to the parenting aspect that the singleness comes in.
Voila, widowhood led to single parenthood. Absolutely.
Well, I also prefer calling widows, than
Guys,
single
let's
mothers.
concentrate on if you have a question. Thank you guys for your contribution. I appreciate each one of you. Thank you. If you have a question, please bring it up. Bring it up.
Meme has a question.
Okay.
Say Meme has a question.
Anybody who has a question?
I don't have a question, no.
Remember that is eating.
I'm chewing corn. I'm chewing fresh corn. Zita's mama,
Uh-huh.
you are an inspiration. You know that. You are a
Thank
very
you.
strong woman, and I just love the woman you are becoming. I love the fact that I just love the fact that we did not meet you when you were broken, because the story would have been different. I'm just so happy that we met you when you have healed and you are still healing. So keep on being you.
Thank
God
you
bless
so
you.
much. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing. Because most people would rather not share. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. God bless you.
Zita Mama, you know, when I heard the first time you talked about you being a widow, sincerely, I thought it's something that happened like 5, 10 years ago. Honestly.
For me, when she was like opening, sorry for cutting you short, Emmy. When she was like, on Thursday, I'll be doing this, I got a shock. Why? Because I remember even Farms telling me in her room, what do you tell Zita Mama? Because I was like, I know your story. I know just a little bit, yes, of your story. For me, it was too fast. It was a shock. But when she's opening up a journey, that's when you understand where she's coming from. But believe me, she's very strong.
Yeah, because honestly, I don't know if you remember, it was on, I think it was Maz's live, and people hadn't joined then, and then you mentioned it and you said, I'll be traveling home for the 1 year. I muted myself and I was like, what? Because yeah, sincerely, I thought the first time I heard that, oh, you mentioned it, I just felt okay, maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but it's so recent. And when somebody puts in the chat that everybody says strong woman, what makes us a strong woman? My number one from your story is not sinking into a situation. It might not even be the loss of a loved one. It might be something that has happened to you in the course of your journey. It's so easy to just sink in and let that situation become your identity. But you changed that narrative. Yes. And that's one thing I admire from your story. I was supposed to go live. I sat down here. I said, no. I told Meme, Meme, wake me up because I want to be on this live to hear Zita's mama's story. And she kind of sent me a message. That message woke me up and I joined this live. So I just want to commend you. Keep doing what you're doing. You see, sometimes we go through situations not just because of us, but because God wants us to be an inspiration for anyone that's going to go through that same thing, and they look up and say, oh, Zita Mama turned out this good, then I do not have an excuse. Let me gather my strength. And for anyone that is going through a tough time, that you think will swallow you up or something, just have it at the back of your mind that there's always strength for you. Always strength for you. And it starts from your mind. Starts from you making up your mind. So Zitas, I give you your flowers. You get, take all the flowers. Anytime you're down, because I know sometimes it will come that you just feel down. Remember that, hey, I have come that long way and I have so many in front of me. So God bless you. And thank you, Coach, for, putting this together. Thank you, Zitas, for being open. It's not easy, but, I commend you.
So it's
Thank
not.
you.
I'm saying that through experience. People have told me stories and they don't want to come out. They
Yes.
want years to be, but they don't want the stories to come out. So
Yeah.
for Zita Mama is a plus, a plus,
Yeah.
Plus.
It's like turning your lemons to lemonade, as in, and oh my
I
goodness.
always say that God gave me lemons and I made sweet lemonade.
Lemonade and added a little bit of sugar to it, right?
Yeah.
And
That's why I have Zipta's Tribe, okay?
well done,
So I
well
can
done,
use
well
my
done,
story.
well done, well done.
I can use my
I
story
have-
to inspire people that cannot speak up. That's why
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Well done,
Let's
well
try.
done.
Thank you so
I
much.
have behavior talk, so I'm gonna drop somebody.
Coach, you can take my box. I'm about to vroom vroom, so you
Thank
can
you,
take my
Amy.
box.
Thank you.
You know, Zita's mama, today is the first time I heard your story. Yes, I am aware, you know, that you're a widow, especially the first time I heard it was the time you celebrated your. Why is it echoing? What? Okay. Why is it echoing?
Birthday or when she
Okay.
celebrated.
Yeah, when you celebrated your birthday, that was when I overheard you say that. In fact, that was something you said. You said it's been a long time that people celebrated you this way. I heard that, well, like, because that time, I don't even know if you've noticed me, in quotes, in the community, but
I was
I'm
still
really
new in the community, yes.
Yes. So yes, if you're new, me too. I was also new then, but the Zita's mama, that name was ringing a bell whenever I hear it. So it was Zita's mama's birthday. I was even dancing that particular day, and when you mentioned that, I imagined what it was actually that made you, say that. But it's been a long while that people celebrated you this way. Even that made me to dance more for you and did everything I did just because I was like, I want this lady to be happy, So at the end of the day, the only thing I can add is just very simple. I want you to know that you are incredibly resilient.
Thank you.
I've not seen a woman of remarkable strength. Your strength, I cannot even imagine it. I work in the hospital. I have met so many families who lost their loved ones. I have met so many who have the same story like yours. They already know, the doctors have already announced, we all know that this person is leaving soon to heaven, And I know all their reactions. I know their mindset. I know their behavior towards their loved ones. Trust me, there are so many who will just leave. They'll say, we are leaving. Whenever it occurs, please call us.
Exactly.
But for us to sit down here for hours, listening to you, all that you went through for years, it's not even something that you went through for days, no, for so many years. A young, beautiful, elegant woman like you who just got married. Oh, Jesus Christ. God-fearing woman. All she wanted was for her husband to be alive for her. She only wanted to be happy in her marriage, to enjoy her marriage. And at the end of the day, all the sacrifices just ended this way. And here you are, helping people, Zitas, blessing people, encouraging people. Now you have your own platform where you are still helping. I don't know. I don't know the God who created you. I don't know the kind of strength He gave you. But whatever it is, I know that it's the Almighty God who is solidly behind you. And He would never, I know that for sure, He has never, let you down. And He would never let you down. I know there are some people you will see, your spirit will just Accept them the way you just like them, even if you are not close to them. You are one of them. I didn't do anything for you. You didn't do anything for me. We only met here. I only saw it as mama. That name alone makes puts the smile. And I'm just like, whenever I remember smile. So that is the grace of God with you.
Right.
So keep being who you are. Honestly, your smiles alone, your physique alone, everything about you. People see you, they love you for who you are.
Thank you.
And my prayer for you today is that the Almighty God will continue to carry you in the hollow of his hands. And let nothing that is not of him near you. Let them never cross paths with you. In Jesus' name. As you are loved, may God continue to go with you. Go before you, before you are with you. That is the only thing I can say. My prayers you got each time I remember you. God bless you, Zita's mama. Thank you so much, Coach, for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, everybody who has spoken. I don't want to left anybody behind. Behavior talks. You wanted to say something. I hope you have not forgotten.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Loud and clear. Hi, everyone. Hi, Zita's mom. I'm touched by your story and your journey. And I just want to let you know that when you are going through the grieving process, it's a process, especially for someone who is a part of you, directly and immediately a part of you. So don't compare your process to anyone else, and don't even be hard on you coming to understanding your husband's transition. I don't say unaliving, transition to live and be with God. Don't compare the beginning of that to where you are now, because it comes in phases. Grief comes in phases and waves. My father passed away not even 24 months ago. He had renal failure, and similar with the hospital staff, and they feel like they're rushing, or you feel like they're rushing you to make decisions, and you see this person lively, and then the next day it can change. So I'm kind of familiar with that hospital staff, and them coming to acceptance with moving to another life. I say transitioning because the Bible talks about it is appointed unto us to die, and then after is judgment. So afterwards we have more life. So we're going to live on in a different form. And so when you come to terms with everything that happens, your husband, I don't believe in reincarnation and people visiting and celebrating in a way that this world defines transitions and afterlife. But your husband may come to you in a dream. He may be coming to you now, or visions, or even seeing the legacy of your husband play out in different things that you do, or tie your vision to, or tie your commitment to moving his legacy forward. He will come, and that's when you will begin to have even more peace. My brother passed away too, right before COVID, and he came and shared something very specific in a dream, but it took me to have peace first about his death. And what he shared to me in a dream, nobody knew. And I told my mother, only she knew, and she could not believe it. So she was at peace even more that he had passed on and been in the presence of God. So I just want to encourage you, if you have not, I think you said you told him don't come back to visit you, but the spirit of a man never dies. So that spirit is still with you. Guardian angels are real, protecting you, guiding you, even when you're not accepting of it. The spirit is still alive. And I know for sure, because I have spiritual dreams about my brother and my father, and they actually are real. So I just want to encourage you, don't be afraid. But as soon as you have the peace that comes over you, only God can give you that, then you may begin to have deeper revelations of dreams that you have about him, maybe it's something he wants you to carry out and finish. My brother came to me about 3 months in a dream. He left his cell phone here and he literally told me in the dream, go and share what is in my cell phone with my children. So, not to bring any scary things or anything, but my brother was an apostle and a strong man of God. And so I know that was God still giving me peace about his transitioning. And so I just want to encourage you to continue to do what you're doing with your foundation or your nonprofit. I don't know what it is, because that is helping you to gather strength and to continue to live out the legacy of your husband and his family and his family's legacy, and understanding that it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. So depending on what your definition is of where you are, that is what God will use to help redefine you, not what man is saying and not what people are saying. So I just want to tell you that you are very encouraging to me this morning. And I just will keep you in prayer, as everyone is saying. I thought this may have been something that happened 5 years ago, but you are very inspiring, and keep up your work on your book, because that is what people will read even after, this journey transitions to another part of whatever God is telling you to do. People will be able to see and read and understand. My brother authored 6 books before he left, and these are the things that I still read to keep his spirit alive. So God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we're running out of time. In reaction to that, see, there's so many things you can't really say, honestly. Yes, I told him I don't want him to come, because as at the time I was still scared, all of that. I was still under that emotional roller coaster and everything. But I tell you, I've seen him a couple of times. He has said some things a couple of times. I didn't share one thing specifically. When I started working in a mental hospital, sorry, coach.
It's okay. Go on.
There's this mental patient that came up to me one time, because the whole time everything was happening, I'm like, and one of the things I told him when we had some conversation before, it went down south, was that if you really, really loved me, you would have done this, done that, So, but this patient, when I started working in this mental hospital, so this boy came up to me. I was just watching over him, and he came up to me and told me, my husband doesn't have an English name. All his names are Igbo name, like traditional names that his dad gave him. And this American boy came up to me and told me, called the name of my husband, and I said, his name is Chiemeka. His dad said, Chiemeka loves you, and he says thank you. I had goosebumps. I had. And next thing I called him back and I said, what did you say? And I said, oh, the food you guys gave me. Da, da, da. His mindset was now switched to something else. And this is a mental patient. You understand? There are so many things, like there are so many signs. And I dream. When I dream, it's clear to me. Like my dreams are very, very clear. You can be saying stuff about me, for example, the way I see my dream. You can be talking about me, you understand? In my dream, I'll now see everything you said, the second person said, the third person said. That's how I see. I don't like to share that part of me, because sometimes when I say it, people start scaring. Oh, before you know it now, because at work, I'll come and now tell them, see, I saw today is going to be hard. Oh, let's, equip staff. These patients are going to act out. And before you know it, it's happening. Brum, 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 brum. You understand? I see stuff. He has come to me. He has shared stuff with me.